Good morning. This is William B. Strong here with my state of affairs. Today is the 2nd of March, and it's about 10:04 a.m. when I make this recording, which will be streamed live here in the next couple of hours. So, what I wanted to do today is to give my reaction to President Biden's speech, State of the Union speech last night that occurred up in the Capitol. What I think was a very historic setting and opportunity for the president during a very serious crisis in Ukraine, as the Ukrainian people are facing down Putin and the Russians, a major power with nuclear weapons. So I want to give you my reactions to the recording of this speech. I'm going to play the speech. I'm only going to focus on the front part of the speech. I don't want to get into all the economic issues, which was basically a rehash of his Democratic Build Back Better plan. We've heard enough of that. I can break down certain specifics of that in later episodes. But let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Please. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justices of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight,
isn't that ironic and very coincidental that the mask came off yesterday, the morning of his big speech, his first State of the Union speech? All of a sudden, the CDC dropped its mandates and its policies and language and guidance, and the Biden administration took off the masks and entered into what one analyst described as the biggest party of old people in a nursing center, that being the Capitol. And I paraphrase the words here a little bit, but so true. All these old senior people with all kind of illnesses, hugging, kissing, shaking hands, no masks, no gloves, nothing. Very ironic.
tonight we meet as Democrats, Republicans, Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
Okay, good statements. Freedom must be supported wherever it is in the world, and that's what America stands for.
Thank you. 6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people.
I like that. Good strength in that part of the segment. We must stand firm with the Ukrainian people.
President Zelensky, To every Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination literally inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies, everyone from students to retirees to teachers, turned soldiers defending their homeland. And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, light will win over darkness. The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine.
Okay, Biden missed a point here. When he said teachers, business people are going into the streets, berating the Russian soldiers, standing in front of tanks like Tiananmen Square back in China, he missed a point of emphasis. And that is, he should have called upon the world and the Ukrainian people to show the Russians your resolve and enter the streets, every capital in the world, to show Putin and the Russians that this would not be tolerated. He should have said, stand up for the Ukrainians. And then he introduces the Ukrainian ambassador and doesn't even say her name, doesn't even identify her by name. Come on, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But all the clapping doesn't matter. Here's the problem, and we're going to start to get into it, is all the clapping and the hugging by Jill Biden with the ambassador doesn't mean anything unless we help the people on the ground in the cities of Ukraine.
Yes. We, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people. Throughout our history, we've learned.
But the Ukrainian people are listening, and they were listening last night. If they could, after their radio tower and TV tower were taken down by the Russians with a smart bomb, they were listening to say, what does that mean to stand by you? What does it mean when America says we stand by you? Does that mean we stand by you with a rifle in our hands, or we stand by you just to go after the Russian oligarchs, yachts, and real estate?
This lesson: when dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II.
Yeah, the NATO alliance was formed for peace and unity and protection of each other for those members of the NATO alliance. If you're not part of that alliance, you don't get the on the ground, boots on the ground protection, which Ukraine does not have.
The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It matters. American diplomacy matters. American resolve matters. Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked.
He's correct about that. Putin wants Ukraine back for whatever deranged reason, whatever historical roots, whatever legacy he wants to leave, but he's going to pay a big price for this. But we must have our resolve with the Ukrainian people to save as many lives as possible.
He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and the Americas, from America to the Asian and African continents, to confront Putin.
Okay, at this point, he's stumbling and bumbling through his words a little bit. He's starting to lose some of the strength that he started with, and he's starting to get a little bit too wordy, too much philosophy, too much words, potentially without actions.
Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying our European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted,
This is all him slapping himself on the back and his administration of how well they did everything prior to the Russians invading. Well, one thing that we didn't do well, and the EU and the NATO allies and the US didn't do well, is if we saw all this coming for months, why didn't we stockpile more weapons into Ukraine? Why are we doing it now? The Russians are on the ground, they're on the move, and they're choking off points to bring bring things in. It's going to the party a little late.
The world is holding him accountable, along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland.
Yes, Putin will be held accountable, and he's going to pay a price. But the question is, how much of Ukraine will be destroyed, and how many deaths will we have with the Ukrainian people?
Are inflicting pain on Russia and supporting the people of Ukraine. Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together,
yes, the isolation of Putin in Russia is going to have a significant impact, but it's going to take a while for that impact to kick in. The Ukrainian people in the cities don't have that time. They have a matter of days, if not hours.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks in the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access. To technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States, I mean it.
Well, it's good, Joe, that you really mean it, and that you're saying stuff that you're actually going to try to do. Does that mean all the other words you don't mean it? What does that mean? Okay, this is the part where he says he's going to go after their yachts and all the real estate they own in the United States and other parts of the world. They're going to put the squeeze on the pocketbooks of the oligarchs that Putin is in bed with, basically. This is going to have an impact. There's no doubt, but they can't just say it. They really got to go after it. And I don't know what all the legalities are, but that's going to be very interesting. But it still doesn't help the people on the ground.
The United States Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find.
You know how long it takes to form task force, and for task force to get up and operating, people are going to get hired and then they're going to get organized. This is going to take forever. Forever.
And seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for you, ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights. Further.
Okay, closing off all U.S. airspace means that the jets, passenger jets, tourist jets, commercial airlines from Russia cannot fly into the United States anymore. And this seems to be something that Europe's doing as well to ground their commercial jets and affect their industry there.
Isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
I'm sure the ambassador from the Ukraine sitting there who is clapping is wondering, what is it that's going to help us in the city of Kyiv right now? What's going to help us in our other cities and rural areas? How are we going to have food to eat, water to drink, ammunition to shoot at the Russians? I'm sure that's what she's thinking at this point.
He has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value. The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value, and trading remains suspended. The Russian economy is reeling, and Putin alone is the one to blame. Together.
This is where Joe Biden should have said, I'm asking you, the Russian people in cities across Russia, to stand up, to go into the streets, to show Putin that this is wrong, that your brothers and sisters in the Ukraine should not be slaughtered at one man's hands, and that you should not pay the price for this because of this man. I ask you to stand up, stand with the world. We are listening and watching.
With our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance.
Military assistance. We're providing military assistance. We're a little late to that party, but without a doubt, and he's not going to talk about it, he's going to sign orders, sending covert orders, sending as much CIA support, special ops support that we can to those countries, to the countryside, to get weapons, to get munitions in, because that's what it's going to take, because you can't fly into the airports.
Humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine, and we'll continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend.
I hope the $1 billion that we're sending to Ukraine does not end up like the billions of dollars of waste and fraud in the COVID relief fund that the Biden administration has overseen.
In their country and help ease their suffering.
That's not going to help them in the short run. Their ease and suffering will be after the Russians take over. It's what are we doing now, today, to arm them?
But let me be clear. Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine.
I'm sure Putin heard that loud and clear. President Putin understands that NATO, including the United States, will not engage his forces, period. This is the benefit of a dictator holding nuclear weapons. That's why countries with nuclear weapons don't want to give them up. And that's why certain countries without them want to develop them. It gives you a big stick in any type of negotiation.
Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides.
I'm sure that was very disappointing to the Ukrainian ambassador sitting there. And I'm sure that President Zelensky on the ground in Kyiv was also very disappointed to hear that there won't be some sort of creative support to them. Basically, to the Ukrainian people, I tell you, you are on your own. You are on your own, and you must hold ground as best you can.
To keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries, including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch.
Is it clear? Crystal, Joe. You laid it out there. We're going to defend every inch. So that's a message to Putin that maybe we're going to give you Ukraine, which is sad to hear, but that's what he's saying. You can have Ukraine, but you can't move anywhere else. Sad. That is the green flag for Putin to continue his run across the Ukraine.
And we're clear-eyed. Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months,
they have to fight back with pure courage because they trained with wooden rifles and they're just handing out any weapons they can find or any weapons we can get in there, which should have been in there months ago.
Will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. But while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, proud, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have.
Joe is bumbling over his words again, and it shows weakness.
Known 30 years of independence, have repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you, as I always promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy and that we use every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. America.
I'm going to cut it off there. That's enough of his speech. That's what he centered on for the crisis in the Ukraine, releasing 60 million barrels of oil. He's worked with countries around the world to where's that oil? Who's that oil going to? Is it being spread around the world? He didn't say if it was coming to America, if it was going to the Ukraine, or if it's going to Germany. 60 million barrels is not enough to cover about 3 days. 3 days of the needs. It's a joke, and that's a token reference to put in there so his Democratic colleagues can applaud and think they're getting something. Well, if you're the Ukrainian ambassador, you must feel pretty empty given that. You know, Biden was uninspiring in this speech. It was disjointed. He didn't show any great strength that I could see. I don't think, he came across well to our European friends, and he certainly didn't please the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians must at this point understand they are on their own. We stand with them as American people, but American government is going to hold back and not get involved in this crisis too deep. So, in my opinion, the Russians will continue their march forward, and they will continue to slaughter the Ukrainian people and destroy the country that they had built so proudly. This is William B. Strong, My State of Affairs. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.